Hello, welcome back to IT Landy Nugget courses. This is exercise 2, task 7, pushing image or images to Azure ACR. If you remember earlier, we created the ACR. This time, to run the containers in a remote environment, you will typically push an image to Docker Registry where you can store and distribute the images. Each surface will have a repo that can be pushed to and pulled from with Docker command, Docker push, Docker pull. Azure Container Registry ACR is managed private Docker registry surface based on Docker version 2. In this exercise, we will push to the image and then we pull from it. Navigate to Azure portal, which we created earlier before, search for ACR, select access key under settings, left hand side, yeah. The access key blade, display, log on server, username, password will require for next step, yeah. Enable, we said when we enable the admin, yeah. From the WSL session, connect to your VM build to your ACR account, typing the following command to log in. Docker login, log on server slash u, username and password, okay? So you are like, where's your server? And then something like the example below. Docker login, uh, fab medical, whatever, sol.azure cr.io slash u slash password. You log on to it. And then you can run the following command to validate, the images. Docker tag your image, match the name. Also, to avoid any issues, Docker tag content web, Docker tag content API, and then this is for tagging. Then you can list your Docker images and look at the repo and the tags that they have the prefix with your ACR account name. Okay, such as the example below. If you do Docker list, look at the names, content web, and then you have the path, full path underneath it with slash content web. So you know where this is stored, yeah? Similar apply to if you've got Nexus or other, ACR equivalent. Now you can do Docker push, yeah, and then you specify the server name and where you can push it. Assuming you are authenticated already, yeah? After a successful push, you will have the following basically, yeah? Display the size. Then you can go to Azure portal, navigate to the ACR account and select the repo. Under the surface on the left hand side, you will now see two images which you pushed. Okay, select the API to see the tag associated with it. And then from the WSL assign version 1, yeah, to both, and the list of the Docker image that are now 2 and 3 for each image. Every time you push, you just target with different, yeah, images, so you know which one's the latest. In case if you have multiple, you know, images and multiple copies, like something like this, basically, yeah. You see, look at this. I will have multiple images and multiple copies. If I run Docker images, yeah, I will see a few of them. Repeat step 7 to push the images to ACR so that the new tagged v1 image are pushed. Then refresh one report to see the two versions, like version 2, latest, whatever you want to call it, yeah. Then you can run the command below to pull the images. So again, Docker pull, similar to the previous one with the version number, and then you can pull it, yeah. So you can download it if you were to deploy it. Okay, so that was the last session on exercise 2. Let me just quick recap what we have done on exercise 2 from task 1 to 7. We created the Docker file, and that Docker file we specified inside it. What is it basically, Docker file? We specified inside it how we will basically exposing our back end, which is the API, to the front end, on which port, what is the path, what is the tag. Then we went down the route of creating the Docker images for the two directory which we have, the web and the API, plus the node. The node itself is the Argon, yeah? It has all the content we need. So we end up with 3 images. Now, then we went down the route of creating tags, like version 1, version 2, if we need it. Then we did the port forwarding. For the API, through Dockerfile, we left it as 3001 with the Docker command, and then we start the service. For the web front, we let it dynamic forwarding to port 3000 using the environment setup here. Then the last part, what we did is basically we started pushing images to the Docker hub. The Docker hub in our scenario is the Azure ACR, yeah, Azure Container Registry, and then we start pulling in images from it. It's basic Docker push. We specify the server, and if you remember when we create the ACR, we said enable the admin, which means we have username and password, and you have to use it when you run the command, and then we push the images. Yeah, and then if I need to push a new image, I went back, I created a new image, or I rerun it with a new tag. I tagged it with version 2, and I pushed it again, so I got down 2 versions. If I want to pull it, I can do the same command. Rather than push, this time, pull. That's all what I have for you for session 2. Hopefully we have learned how to do these basic stuff. I think it's very useful if you make yourself familiar so far. Next, we will cover totally different activities. Yeah, we will do deploy the session next. Yeah, thank you for watching and goodbye for